Hi everybody. I'm really angry this evening over the uh, BBC and what the BBC are doing right now is that they are finding ways of being critical of President Duterte and the Philippines almost like through the back door. So they're trying to not directly criticize, but use, if you like, fake stories and kind of shame the Philippines. And the situation this evening was which I'm really angry about, is the interview with Jovar Leno, who is the author of the Pinoy Ako blog. And the situation is that this blog has constantly criticized the president, the Philippine government, and politicians who are doing their very best for the country. So the first issue I have is if this blogger was telling the truth or telling the real story, why did she have to hide? Why does she have to hide under this blog? If you have things to say them openly. So why is she scared? I'll tell you why she's scared. Because she's spreading fake news, and she's shaming her fellow Filipinos through what she's doing. I've looked at the Pinoy Ako blog. To be honest, I haven't really paid that much attention to it, because anyone critical of the president or anyone critical of the Philippines doesn't really warrant my time or doesn't really warrant my interest. But the fact is, I've had a look at the website of the Pinoy Ako blog, and on the front page at the moment, there's a picture of President Duterte in the hands of what looks like a monster and a troll, and with the words "down, down, down." You know, the fact is, this lady, you could almost argue, is committing treason. You know, she's I'm just so angry of this lady's attitude. You know, we can all blog. You know, I don't hide what I'm doing. I don't hide my face. You know, I speak out openly. And if this lady was really telling the truth, she would also speak out openly. But, you know, she's too scared. So she's kind of making kind of backstabs against the government and criticizing other bloggers, including Mocha Uson, unnecessarily, and it's just not acceptable. And Jing, you're right. Yeah, she was interviewed by the BBC, and that's just my issue. You see, there are many bloggers with millions of followers, and they don't even get the opportunity to get an interview by the BBC. And this person, I believe she only has 100,000 followers on her blog. She gets a prime time interview on the BBC. And you've got to ask, why did she get that opportunity? It looks to me like the BBC is trying to find ways of criticising the government, but rather than openly criticising the government, they are desperately looking for fake stories. They are desperately looking for fake bloggers, and they are looking for people who condemn the Philippines and condemn the Filipino people. And this is the attitude of the BBC right now. Once again, the BBC is being very biased in the way that it reports stories. I've had many issues with the BBC, and I've been involved in a protest before against the BBC on a few occasions where they've covered situations in the Philippines in a very biased way. I've got to ask myself, who is in the BBC right now at the moment who will allow this kind of news story to become such big news? This lady, this Jovar, is very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. You know, she is constantly criticizing the country, constantly criticizing the government, you know, criticizing the president. What all the president wants to do is free the country of drugs, free the country of corruption, and free the country of crime. So you've got to wonder what this lady is doing, or who she's being paid by. whether she's working for the opposition party or the Yellows, if you like, or what her agenda is. And you've got to wonder if the BBC is in some way involved in this as well. Because you see, as I said, nobody's really interested in this lady. You know, I haven't even bothered looking at the Pinoy Ako blog because it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really affect me. I know the president's doing a fantastic job, and the Philippines is going to go through massive improvements right now. You know, the economy is at its best that it's ever been for a very, very long time. And, you know, there's still going to be people who are going to criticize the president. And, you know, it's just not acceptable. So as well as this situation with this blogger who got such prime airtime, there was also another issue earlier on where the BBC have done a story on this detention center, not detention center, station center. I'm sure I've got some messages at the moment. It's kind of difficult to deal with. Hi, Jing. Wow, I've never done this before. You've joined my blog. I don't really know how that works. You're here.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. You've joined this blog. Can you go ahead and give us your opinion as well, please? And can people see both of us?
Actually, I'm in the room right now. I'm just having some rest because I'm tired. But yeah, I've seen the interview earlier on. It was posted by SAS, so I was quite aware of what is happening. And for me, it's just so biased. Why did they didn't even invited Attorney Bruce, who is here in London, who was a week ago was interviewed by Sputnik. Remember that?
Yes, George Galloway.
Yeah, and then it's just so amazing to know that after this job or whatever she is now, it's just annoying. Actually, now she's getting all the sympathy of BBC now, and debunk that she's not fake news or what.
Exactly right. As you say, I believe she only has 100,000 followers, and I suppose the followers aren't the issue. The issue is she's quite insignificant. And why has the BBC gone out of its way to track down this lady? It's like they're trying to find ways of criticizing the government through the back door. They're not kind of openly so everyone's got a right to freedom of speech, and of course everyone's got a right to show a balanced story. But this isn't balanced. This is openly criticizing the government through this blogger. But also the other issue is the way they opened up with this blogger looks as though they're trying to say the Philippines is so bad that this lady needs protection, and like they're trying to be kind of almost trying to say the Philippines is a dangerous country right now. And you know, there's another issue right now as well you may be aware of. There's a massive drug rehabilitation center in the Philippines that's doing a fantastic job in terms of rehabilitating drug addicts and and drug dealers. On Facebook, my attention was drawn to a preview of this particular interview at this drug rehabilitation center. And in this, they said these people are escaping from President Duterte's bloody war on drugs. So again, it's another way of criticizing President Duterte in his efforts to rid the country of drugs. You know, the thing is that why can't, if people have something to say, of course they can say it, but why be so biased? Why chase after this Pinoy Ako blog? I think there's got to be someone in the BBC who seems to be maybe very biased or maybe against the Philippines and the Filipino people. And I find that very, very disturbing.
Yeah, I believe that as well. I think in some ways, I find it it's really strange for me now that I'm thinking that it's well coordinated with the Yellows. I don't know if they are being financed by the whoever the financier who is, well, of course.
Exactly.
we know, yeah, we know at the back of that somebody is paying BBC, because that it is what is showing now. Because, you know, if they are not biased enough, they should have done it, like interview most, at least one from the bloggers not someone like Pinoy blog, someone
See, they,
who believes
mm,
in the Duterte government, at least.
if you remember, to obviously, so that this blog is not biased as well, this Facebook Live thing that we're doing is not biased as well. I would say, to give credit to the BBC, if you remember the interview before and the program they did, where in fact they interviewed Trillianis, and they also interviewed Mokaruson as well, and they did give her some time. So I have to give the credit to the BBC for that. But on this occasion, they've completely let everyone down. You know, it just annoys me that they've really gone through almost like the back door. They can't say anything openly, so they'll find ways of putting pressure on the government, of criticizing the president by teaming up with these fake bloggers, and it's just really frustrating.
She's fake news, and she even labeling us as paid by the government when it's not. And
Exactly.
it's just very libelous and maliciously. She's attempting to discredit some few groups, which is a very supportive with the government.
Yeah. Well, if you look at this person's blog, the first thing I see at the top of her blog on the website is an advert. So the fact is, you've got to wonder why this person is doing this. Are they doing it just to make money, or are they doing it for some other reason? You know, if it was a genuine blog, there wouldn't be any advertising at all. If you look at Mocha Uson's blog, her Facebook page, there's no advertising. There's nothing like that. But if you look at this lady's blog, there's advertising at the top of her page. So you almost wonder whether she's trying to kind of get more followers, or what she's trying to do. If she just wants to try and discredit the government. But you've also got to say, this is almost kind of treason in a way, because she's done a picture of President Duterte, and she's done this cartoon kind of picture of the president on the front of the Pinoy blog page. And it just looks like she's kind of demeaned the president. She has a picture of this big monster. I don't know if you can see it now, but she has a picture of this big troll, if you like, and Duterte is in the troll's hand and looks like a tiny little man. So, you know, if she wants to say something, I suppose nobody can stop her from making her comments if she comes out openly. But to hide and to do this disrespectful photo of the president is disgusting.
Yeah, and also maybe one of the reason is some of our, DDS, one of the the supporters of Duterte are following the blog itself. So one thing for us to do is to stop following this Pinoy blog, because the more you follow this page, the more she'll get famous. So for us, I think the one thing we could help this page to, the engagement down, is for unfollowing this page itself.
Yeah, so I quite agree with you. Of course,
because I've seen this before. It's just like 60. It's not even 20,000 followers. Now it's gone up into 100 followers. Why would some Duterte supporters follow this certain unbiased blog? You know.
I completely agree. It also reminds me probably of the case of Davina. If you remember Davina, Davina was the Indian lady in Singapore who said some terrible things about Megan Young and about the Filipino people. And if you remember back to 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote an open letter to Davina. And the fact is, Davina was an absolute nobody. She was just some teacher in Singapore who wanted to be famous by saying that she was pretty and that she was more pretty than Megan Young. So she
Yeah.
went from somebody who nobody was interested in to almost becoming a celebrity overnight. But because
Yes.
people were following her, they were contacting her. And it almost makes me think the same in the case of the Pinoy Eco blog and this person. They've gone from being a nobody who I've ignored. If I have to be honest, I've seen a couple of the Pinoy blog kind of stories before, but I haven't really paid much interest. And I agree with you. The problem is now that if supporters of President Duterte follow this Facebook page just because they want to see all the bad articles, so my advice would be to immediately unfollow the page. Of course, there's nothing wrong with you still looking at the page if you want to see what's happening, if there's any criticism, but to unfollow the page, because as you say, the more we comment on this, the more followers she's going to get and the more money she's going to make through advertising, because she has advertising on the front page of the Pinoy Co blog. So she's making money out of this, which I think is shameful.
That's true. That's the proper advice we can give for our co-supporter for the Duterte as well. So I think I've seen one of your commenters there.
JR.
Yeah.
I'm looking at JR. He's a funny guy. He's invited me out for a drink in Wimbledon at one stage. And of course, I've always been polite to him and I've never been rude to him. And yet he's just sent me a message to say, you too, Malcolm, is a nobody. You think you're something that you're not. JR, I've never said that I'm something that I'm not. I've never claimed to be anyone special. The fact is I'm just passionate about the Philippines, the Filipino people. And I do have an audience. And with that audience, I need to spread the truth because there's so much fake news out there from the likes of the Pinoy Co blog that I need to tell the truth. And I just believe it's my duty and responsibility to tell the truth. Yes, I'm a nobody. Great. I'll announce it on Facebook. I'm a nobody. But then, JR, who are you? I believe you're a nobody as well.
Exactly. We're just an ordinary, commoner who's just being very vocal for what we believed in.
We just care. We just care about the country and care about the people.
So whatever you believed in as well, we respect as well. So it's just a matter of respecting our beliefs, and yeah, I think we can still exist as friends. And just
exactly right. Yeah, and JR made one other comment here, Jing, that I'm a bit concerned about, because Pinoy Co blog tells the truth. See, the thing is, I'm not scared to read these things out. I can accept criticism, unlike this Pinoy Co blog woman who hides herself and she's too scared to come out. If you have something to say it publicly. I've received a lot of bashing on Twitter, but I'm not going to hide. I'm not suddenly going to change and put some fake photo.
Well, I don't believe that, because honestly speaking, she libeled us as well, telling that our magazine is paid by the DOT, which is really not. It comes from our own packet. And
I know this, and I can vouch for this. Yeah. So just quickly going back to the comment of JR, he said, because Pinoy Co blog tells the truth, you're so pathetic, Malcolm. It's the BBC who reached out to Pinoy Co blog. Okay, thank you, JR. Thank you very much for informing the Filipino public that it was the BBC who reached out to the Pinoy Co blog. The question I have for you, JR, is why? Why did the BBC reach out to the Pinoy Co blog? Well, why are they so bothered in this woman with no importance whatsoever? Why are they trying to it's biased media, isn't it? If they're going to be open and honest and they're going to show two sides of the story, great. But because they can't criticize the president openly, they take to finding ways of being backhanded and criticizing him another way, which is not acceptable for a news channel and a TV station that I pay my license for. I'm actually paying a license fee for the BBC so the BBC can share fake news and biased views, and it needs to stop.
Exactly. So that's what our beliefs, JR. And I'm seeing too much. I think, Dags, we don't want to make any comments about your question, so just leave it as is if you're still watching.
Yes, so I'm always very happy to read out people's comments. Even if I don't agree with them, I believe everyone has a fair crack of the whip. As you know, I won't block anyone. Otherwise, I would have blocked JR a long time ago. And he's invited me out for a pint in Wimbledon. I'd very much like to have a pint with him. But when we do, I'd ask that we do this on Facebook Live so people can see the man behind these constant criticisms of the president. Esther, JR, give us 10 reasons why the BBC contacted the Pinoy Co blog and persuaded us that the Pinoy Co blog is a fair blog. So that's the point, you know, why did the BBC contact the blog, and why is it fair? You know, if you're saying bad things about the government, if you're saying bad things about the president, in some countries that would be treason, in some countries you'd be executed. Because President Duterte is fair, because he allows people to protest, and because he allows people to say their piece. Fair enough, but don't take advantage of that.
Yeah, he was saying that it's too dark. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can't really afford to get up right now. I'm in the room.
No, that's fine. It's kind of good in a way, because you shouldn't have to change or turn on the light or do whatever you need to do. You know, this is just a little chat, and it's helpful actually having you here, because it means I've got somebody as kind of a soundboard. Thanks for joining me on this. I really, really appreciate it, because there are some nasty people out there who've been saying nasty things about me on Twitter and on Facebook, and I really do appreciate the fact that you've joined in. Thank you.
No worries. I'll be off soon, Ma, because I need to rest as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, I wasn't really going to comment on this, but I got a message from one of my followers to say that it really needed to be tackled, because the BBC is very biased, and you know, it's not acceptable. So yeah, before you do go off, I wanted to say more about this drug rehabilitation center. You know, this is a fantastic initiative. Everyone's saying that the president is not doing anything at all to rehabilitate drug offenders and drug dealers, but there's a massive rehabilitation center right now in the Philippines that's giving people treatment. So to those people who say the war on drugs is killing people, no, it's not. There are people who are being helped, people whose lives are being changed by this rehabilitation center. So there's two sides to every story, and I'm sick and tired of people making up fake stories and accusing the Philippines of being involved in EJKs, when the real story is there's drug treatment centers and there's a program for people who want help. If you want help, if you go to the police and say, I'm a drug addict, or you go to the government and say, I'm a drug addict, then you will get the help that you need. And people need to see that there are two stories to two sides to every story.
Yes, that's true. Because they believe that whatever they see in the television, you know, that's gonna sink in their heads, and they think that we don't have any really rehabilitation centers in the Philippines, which is a very contrast as well.
Maybe yeah, exactly.
They're just reading whatever they see on television. They're just reading whatever blog they believe is gonna be helping them in Google. Because whenever you go on Google as well, it will show up. It's like the list of all yellow articles in there first. Like if we go Google like drug war, it's all negative in Google. So
do you think that's being paid? Because I know on Google you can actually pay for a placing, can't you?
Of course, Mal. I believe so. I believe so. I think even if you just go there and then just search the name Duterte in Google, you will see a lot of negative articles against him.
Which is ridiculous, because if you type in President Duterte, the first thing you should see is the president's website. And actually something very positive. So it looks as though there are people kind of behind this. Lee Charles made a comment. Somebody, I think, lobbied BBC to contact this Pinoy blog for an airtime interview. Yeah, I agree with you, Lee. Somebody's obviously behind this. But, you know, the fact is the BBC shouldn't be spreading biased and fake news. You know, I pay my license fee. We should hear both sides of the story. Yes, in fair journalism, there's nothing wrong with the BBC visiting the Philippines. There's nothing wrong with them interviewing people, but at least be fair. Don't get some woman who's making nasty pictures of the president and demeaning the president and put it on national TV to British audiences. It just makes a bad name for the Philippines and portrays the Philippines as somewhere that's not safe. You know, this article the BBC did again today where they said President Duterte's bloody war on drugs is not helping the Filipino people. It's not helping Philippine tourism. And, you know, it's not helping the Philippine people with their businesses to get out of poverty and everything else. So somebody is behind this, and it needs to change.
Yes, I believe they need to contact any of those pro Duterte bloggers, especially Attorney Bruce is here in London. Maybe they can contact him anytime soon before he gets off London before 17th. So I think it's a very great opportunity for them to contact him, or likely they can contact Sas, who keeps tagging them to interview her, because unfortunately this Pinoyco blog is libelously attempting to tell that she's a prostitute, which she's not. You know what I mean? So
the thing is, if you've got
more contact them, you don't know. So in just the spirit of fairness, they should do that as well.
Exactly right. You know, the thing is, it sounds as though this Pinoyco blog, as I said, I haven't really paid much attention to it, so I'm grateful for your input. But the fact is, you know, if this woman wanted to say something, she should come out openly. She's hiding because she's spreading fake news, and this picture of the president, all tiny, you know, makes it. She's insulting the president. She's insulting the Filipino people by what she's doing, and I hate to speak out so openly, but I just believe that the BBC are almost involved in this in some way, because they're siding with somebody who's very biased against the Philippines and Filipino people.
Exactly. Well, we can't really stop this biasness of some few media outfits, because that is what they should be doing. Like there's like a lot of spoofs going on. When there's something, a new article will be coming in from Philippines, they will just gonna take it, so that it will boost their reportings as well. But I believe,
yeah, exactly. You know, all these stories kind of sell newspapers and sell with airtime.
Not even a single positive news from the BBC. It's always neutral. It's always negative. Not even a positive reports from BBC. I haven't seen anything like that. So at least, I mean, if they believe in spirit of fairness, they should contact some few bloggers who are very positive about Duterte as well. So I think that's just my piece of thoughts as well.
Well, more than that, you know, the fact is that the BBC talk about war on drugs. They do things on poverty. If you remember back before, they did a story on overcrowding of prisons. You know, that's fine, and I accept that, and I accept that the media has a place if there's something that needs to be looked at or something that needs to be changed. I accept that. But the fact is, what about the positive stories? What about massive improvements in infrastructure? What about the first subway system in the Philippines? What about free medicines in hospitals? What about free education? What about the poverty threshold? Imagine people in poverty being reduced by 14%. What about crime down by 27% under the Duterte administration? Why not show those things? What about the wonderful 7,107 islands? You know, why not cover these things? Why, when they talk about the Philippines, is it always negative? And that's what makes me angry.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I can't really say anything at the moment now because I'm really sleepy.
No, that's fine. No, I honestly really do appreciate you joining. and I appreciate your input. It's been very helpful. I've got to admit, I'm a little bit rusty on the Pinoy Co blog because, to be honest, I don't really waste my time. It doesn't really affect me in my life anyway. You know, I want to spread the positive news and the good things that are happening in the country, not listen to some liar trying to discredit the Philippines and discredit the government.
Exactly. I don't watch news. I only rely on Facebook and the bloggers that which I follow.
I'm
that
exactly
you,
the same.
yeah. So if I go watch the television, it will piss my day off, and I don't want that to happen.
Exactly. If I
We're
want to watch
obviously
something, I might watch it and catch up, you know, if there's a certain program. But other than that, I don't really watch too much. Only if somebody draws my attention to a particular story will I research more. You see, I don't speak
okay.
until I've looked into something. I'm not one of these people who believes fake stories. If somebody tells me about something, I need to investigate it myself before I'll comment on it.
Yes, exactly. Let's do some shout out from the commentators here. Hello, Tita Melinda, Kuya JJ, and for the rest of hi Lawrence from where are you from? I don't know. Some of
Just
your
to jump in there, I have to say thank you very much to JJ for your support, JJ Jimenez. I know we don't agree sometimes with every single thing, but I really do appreciate your support and for your interaction, JJ. It means a lot to me. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, JR. I can't really see your comment because I believe that I blocked you. But well, thank you. Thank you as well for your time.
So this is JR now. So I was talking about JJ Jimenez. But in terms of JR, he makes one more comment. The subway system has not taken off yet, Malcolm. No, but the fact is it will take off. The Japanese government have just agreed to finance that. And the fact is, the more you're critical, the less likely, the more you say bad things about the Philippines, and the more you accuse the president of being involved in EJKs, the less likely there is to be international investment. When I attended the Build conference in April, I understood that there were 12 million jobs being created. Isn't that something positive and something to shout out about? That as a result of this infrastructure build, more people are going to be employed, which means less people need to rely on going abroad to countries where they're mistreated. So instead of being critical all the time, JR, I just wish for once you were actually trying to help the Philippines and support the Philippine people rather than criticizing them.
Well, if they started building all these programs, it's gonna be more traffic in EDSA, so there's gonna be more complaints. I know, but if
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
there's a if we want.
Well, I think all these things happen in the end. You know, I think if it is going to be some disruption, that's fine. But the end result is very important.
At the end of the in few years' time, we will see the results of this kind of program, the build program.
Exactly.
So
and for people who think it's all in secret, it's all out there. You know, just go onto build.gov.ph and you can see the program out there and you can see what's happening. And of course, with this 47 billion pesos, see, the BBC needs to be talking about that. The president was able to get 47 billion pesos in unpaid taxes. And this will help the Philippine people. This will improve health, infrastructure, and that's good news. So, you know, rather than a president who just wants to please everyone, some elitist president, President Duterte is a man who chases after what's due to the Philippine people by those who avoid tax. Anyway, just reading through some of the comments. Tim Murray. Carry on. Sorry, you have a read. Your phone's probably better than mine, or you're on the computer. I don't know.
I'm reading right now some of your shout out to everyone who are joining us. It's my first time. I just tried it now. So I thought if I press that green line, I mean that green button down in your live, it will share the video. I didn't know that it's gonna be like this, so it turned up like this. So I'm surprised. So hello, dogs from Canada. Hi, hi, Kuya Peck Jr. who just joined now. Hi, it's Amy. Hello, Crystal. Kuya
Yeah,
JJ,
it's really, it's
and
amazing, isn't it?
some of yeah, because I keeps on popping. Some of my few friends are joining and watching as well. So hello to everyone. So yeah, Kuya J, I can see. Hi, hello. Yeah, it's just
The technology is
it's
incredible, isn't it? Really.
yeah. I didn't know it. It's it's my first time. Sorry, can't really turn on the light. I don't have a remote
Yeah, it's really amazing
for my
technology. I
light.
didn't know myself. You know, people have asked me before, they want to go live on my blog or they want to connect. And I think you might be cutting up a little bit. So just to say, I didn't really know, Jean, I didn't really know that there was this facility that you could join into somebody's Facebook Live
Well,
and actually broadcast with
uh,
them. And I think this is pretty cool. Thanks so much for Facebook.
yes, thank you, Facebook. Well, at least you know the next time you go live, you can invite someone who could join you and do some a little bit of like a mini blogging like this what
Like an interview.
like interview. It's really cool.
It's kind of
I
really
mean,
cool because sometimes I get a bit lost, you know, when I'm by myself. If I don't really kind of, I need a bit of prompting. So it's kind of nice that you've got the opportunity as well to kind of connect with other Pinoys and share your views. But also we can go ahead and we can tell the real truth and criticize those who spread fake news like the Pinoy Co blog.
yes, that's true. Well, I need to leave you, Mal. I have to say goodbye and good night to everyone as well who's joining us and who's watching us. Thanks for the time. And I can't really see everyone who's commenting. It's just got off somewhere. But I just want to say goodbye to everyone and thank you, Mal, for this opportunity as well.
Thanks so much. Good night. Thank you very much for joining. Have a good evening. I hope to see you
You too.
soon, I guess, in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much. Bye. I don't know how to do
Bye.
it.
Take care. Bye.
You see?
I don't know. I might even swipe you. Oh, I can't even. Yeah, I'm going to swipe you out. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye. I can't. Maybe you can do it.
I
Yeah.
can't. You're
Oh,
stuck. All right. Just kind of duck down a little bit. So.
oh my God. I don't know how to do it.
I don't think we can while we're live.
Yeah, maybe stop the live.
Yeah, I will do. I'm just going to say goodbye to a few people and just read a few more comments. So see you later.
See you later.
Yeah, so guys,
Good night.
thanks so much to Ups watching from the UAE. Thank you to Tina watching from Shepherd's Bush. I appreciate your contribution. Thanks to Marion watching from Nottingham. And of course to Lee. So Lee said, BBC should also try to speak to the bloggers who expose that pathetic liar. They'll be surprised to know what's beneath the iceberg. Malcolm, is there any way to let them know the other side of the story? Well, exactly, Lee. That's exactly what I'm doing today. You know, I want to say to the BBC that you need to look at the whole story and give others the chance to speak as well. You know, not somebody who is painting tiny pictures of the president is almost kind of demeaning the president. This is not the kind of person you need to be speaking to. You know. So Goldie, can the DDS UK or organise a day trip to go? So okay, so Goldie, you said, can DDS UK organise a day to come in front of the BBC? All Filipinos, this has to stop. Well, just to explain, Goldie, there are two DDS groups, as far as I'm aware of, in the UK. There is UK DDS and DDS UK. I'm not going to make any comments at all about the two groups. All I'm going to say is that although I'm not a member of UKDDS, I'm a supporter of UKDDS, and I consider UKDDS to be my family. So you're asking here, Goldie, about DDS UK. I'm sorry, I can't answer that because I don't know anyone from DDS UK, and I'm not involved in that organisation. But if you're asking, can just the DDS in the UK, you know, you're asking for a day of protest outside the BBC. To be honest, it's really hard now because well, I've helped to organise some protests outside the BBC, and it's actually really hard now because most of the BBC has moved up to Manchester, and all they have now is a small space in a white city, and there isn't space on the road to actually organise a protest. And not only that, you know, it's all about timing, isn't it? You know, most people are working on the week. BBC are not actually there on the weekend. So what I would say to you is maybe you could start a petition, or maybe we could do something similar to that. It's something that we'll consider, or something that I'll consider, but not at the moment. I think we just need to continue putting pressure on the BBC through writing to them, through emailing them, and of course we're all welcome to go ahead and comment on Facebook and make such videos like I'm doing. Penny Taylor watching from Edinburgh. Hi. Benito watching from Kuwait. Wow. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciating it. Lawrence watching from Qatar. Thank you so much. I love Qatar. I've been there several times. Carmelita watching from Switzerland. I love your chocolate out there. Melinda, thanks so much. Esther, thank you. JR again, thank you. Laz said, I love you, Duterte. Thanks so much. Sabulaka, because the BBC is a biased media, and we know that here in the UK, just like the biased media in the Philippines. I would agree with you. I think the BBC needs to look at both sides of the story, and it needs to have fair reporting. So on that same interview, where they were interviewing the Pinoy Co blog, they should have also interviewed a pro-Duterte blogger, and given the pro-Duterte blogger a chance, maybe Sass would have been ideal, because then Sass would have had the opportunity to give her side of the story. And just as much as the BBC found this Pinoy Co blogger, they should have also made an effort to reach out and interviewed somebody from the other side. You know, there needs to be two sides to every story. And the reason why we're saying the BBC is biased is because they're only telling one side of the story. So by its very nature, it means they're biased. Bloom, Malcolm, don't waste your time explaining anything to JR because he's like his boss, abnormal. See, Bloom, I'd like to meet JR. I'd like to have an interview with him. I'd like to, he's offered me to have a drink with him in Wimbledon. I'd love that, so I can meet him in person and try and find out what he's really about. Amy, Jay, who do you think you really are? That's quite funny. Jing, libelous, Pinoy Co blog. Jing says, libelous Pinoy Co blog. She needs to answer to those accusations she has thrown to the 7 senators and other personalities. Yellow Camp is always the culprit behind all these destabilizing moves. Follow the money, well connected. And that's the thing, you know, a lot of people, when they're blogging against the president, like this Pinoy Co blog, you know, she has an advert on her homepage. So clearly she's making money. You know, it's all very well for others to accuse the pro-Duterte bloggers of making money, which they're not. But clearly, if you only have to go, and I invite all of my followers to go on the Pinoy Co blog, the actual internet site, and you'll see at the very top there's an advert. So clearly she's making money out of lying about the Philippines, which I don't agree with. Melinda, JR, let's go down a little bit. Excel, yes, it's true. Amy is only watching PTV4 News. I can't actually get that channel here in the UK. I'm sure I can watch it on the internet. I do watch a variety of news channels, and I watch a lot of videos on YouTube as well. Um, going down a little bit. Gerald's watching from Laguna, Philippines. Thanks so much for watching. Excel is watching from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much. I've read all of your comments and greeted all of you. Thank you for watching. Please share, please like. Let's put pressure on the BBC so that they will also interview some pro-Duterte bloggers as well. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Good night. Good night, Jing. Thanks so much. Good night, guys. Take care. Good night.